You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey, mamas, and welcome back to another episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So if you are a mompreneur or thinking of diving into entrepreneurship, this episode is for you, girl. I am super excited to be chatting with Megan Moran today about the power of mompreneurship and how to navigate it with ease. Megan is not only a mom to two beautiful babies under 2, but also a wife and a mompreneur. She runs the Mompreneur Guide, a company that helps mom entrepreneurs navigate mompreneurship with focus, support, and ease within her Mastermind community. As a child of a mompreneur, Megan's been lucky to experience this lifestyle from both sides, as the child and the mom, and she'll be the first to tell you it's one impactful decision to make for not only you, but for your kids too. While it's not an easy path, Megan combines her experience, education, and passion to help mompreneurs add hours back to their days through strategy, community, and self-care. As a time management and productivity junkie, I cannot wait to geek out on these topics today, Megan. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Perfect. All right, well, let's get started. Tell us more about your background. I know you have a really unique perspective on mompreneurship and the working mom lifestyle, so I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so like we mentioned in the intro, I was actually raised not only by a mompreneur, but also almost everybody in my family ran their own business. So that was really cool to see growing up and to experience and live, because I feel like our kids and their generation are going to be very used to saying that their parents ran their own businesses. But I feel like for our generation, that's not as common. And so growing up, I was able to see the freedom that owning your own business allows. My mom was able to be there to pick me up from school. And while we would probably have to go back to her office and do work, I was able to interrupt her, ask her questions, and half the time I would go to work myself. So my work ethic was strong from a young age, which was actually really inspiring for me. I saw what could be for my future while it was very much down the line when I was younger. And I immediately knew that that was something I wanted. I wanted to have that freedom over my time, to be able to use it the way I want, to be able to actually have control of my life, to be able to be creative too and do things the way I wanted to do that way. But most importantly, I always thought to myself, I want to be able to be there for my kids like my mom was for me. So coming from a family of entrepreneurs, I was encouraged at that young age to figure out what I enjoyed or what I was good at and go after it. So when I was in high school, actually, I had been told by a bunch of people that styling was kind of my thing and fashion was my thing. And so I went ahead and started a business in high school around fashion and styling. And I did that business for 10 years because I wanted to grow my business so that by the time I did have kids, it would be a well-oiled machine. That was the thought process. But as most people probably realize, when theory turns into reality and your children get here, life is very different, and being a mom is much different than what you expect it to be. And so while I was pregnant with our last child, our daughter, I started to realize, like, after she's born, my mompreneurship journey is going to be like how it is for the rest of my life. Yes, things are going to change, but is this the way that I want to be a mompreneur? And I realized that wasn't the case. So I had to do a lot of digging and journaling and figuring out, how do I want to spend my time, and how do I want to, I don't like to say balance, but how do I want to maintain all the things that I want to do? And that's when I came up with my time freedom formula and the realization that I was raised by a mompreneur. I actually studied entrepreneurship. That was my major in college. So I really have this big background, worked for multiple small businesses and startups too. And so I realized this is the space I'm meant to be helping women in. I've got it from both sides. And that's always been my passion and the reason I started my first business. So that's what I wanted to come out here and do.
Yeah. So, wow, you started in high school, your
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship journey. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then I like that you said that it changed from one kid to two kids, because I think that every major life event always throws us a new challenge, and it's up to us to kind of pivot and adjust and make it work for us, right? Whether that's a job relocation, whether that's going from working a 9 to 5 to starting your own business, whether that's adding to your family, it's always going to come with a set of changes that need to be implemented. And you took that experience and you said, I'm going to totally pivot this and focus on my time, which you know me and time. So I'm excited to talk more about this, but I like that was kind of the catalyst for you.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely going from 1 to 2 is like a whole change. And I think going from, 0 to 1 was even a bigger one. It's just you go from having really no constraints or not that many constraints on your time to having people who completely depend on you, and you want to be there and present for them too. So it's not only do they need you, but you want them. And so yeah, it definitely was just a total mindset shift for me. Like I used to sit at my desk and I think now, what did I do? I sat there from 8 in the morning until 6 at night. Like, and now I'm just so much more productive because I'm much more intentional with my time and choosing activities that are high impact, versus trying to do all the things. I mean, you just can't when you've got other people you want to prioritize.
Yeah, your efficiency just skyrockets when you become a mom. I'm in total agreement.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are both big proponents of time management and time saving strategies. So tell us a bit more about your approach to this.
Yes. So my approach, I have found that it really takes 3 steps in order to kind of get a handle on your time, at least for mompreneurs, that is. And so the first step in my time freedom formula is clarity. And this is one that often comes as a point of contention because you get to it and you're like, I have no time. Where am I going to find the time to journal and do all of those things where you're trying to figure out what to do with your time? And so my thing though is most of the time when you're overwhelmed and stressed, the answer is almost always less, but you can't know what less should be unless you know what you want. So it takes some time, it takes some effort. It feels in the moment like you're going backwards and that you're not progressing forwards towards your goals. But at the end of the day, when you take time to have stillness and really think through who you are, what you want, what are your priorities, specifically mapping those to like your income goals. I think a lot of the times right now we're hearing 6 figures, 6 figures. And that might be what you want or need to make, but sometimes that might not be the case. If you add up all the things you want to do, it might be less, it might be more. And so being very intentional and specific with what we want then can map to how much time we need to spend to get there and what those activities look like. So that first piece is clarity, for sure, is figuring out what you want, what are your priorities, and how do you tick and what works best for you so you're feeling good throughout your day as you're checking off these to-do list items. After that, I then recommend after you have your clarity, then you have to align it with your time. So as a stylist, I used to go into people's closets and tell them what to keep and get rid of because I knew their style. And so this is the same concept just applied to your time. You know how you want to use your time. You have your running list of priorities and goals. And so then you look at what's currently on your calendar and where are there the matchups and where is there stuff that doesn't align. And that's the stuff you can cut. Sometimes you find things you need to add, like support or ways to delegate in your business. So it's not always just cutting things. Sometimes it's adding things back for extra help on your end. And also looking too at what are the things that are currently on your schedule that fill you up that you want to keep. So I always like to talk about alignment includes keep, cut, and add. Last but not least, I love to share recalibration. So as we all know, life is going to inevitably ebb and flow. Your kids are going to need you differently. They're going to need your support, and they're going to grow and need you in different ways. Same with your business. And so making sure you constantly check back in and go again through this cycle of clarity and alignment will help make sure you're always filling up your cup and always doing the things you want to be doing instead of, continuing to do something that might not be a fit down the line. So those are the 3 steps that I like to walk people through: that clarity, alignment, and recalibration.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, what I like to say is if you don't know how you want to spend your time, you're going to end up wasting it away, which is
Mhm.
very similar to your clarity, your first step right there. You got to get clear on what your goals are. Otherwise, you're just going to fill your time with garbage, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's hard too as a mompreneur because you go into it for freedom, but then the other side of that is there is no structure. Like you have so much freedom that sometimes you feel lost, and you can obviously feel alone in this lifestyle as well, because again, it's not quite as popular as maybe being a working mom and having a corporate job and other women already innately around you in the job that you do. And so if you can put some structures into place, while they be flexible, they don't have to be very stringent. I'm all about rhythms instead of routines, but it certainly makes a difference for actually accomplishing what you want and feeling good about your day.
So I'm curious, when it comes to navigating this
Yeah.
space, what's the number one piece of advice you have to help our listeners run their days more smoothly?
Yeah. I would say it's kind of that mindset piece, which is remembering at the end of the day, you are in control. I think oftentimes we kind of get caught up with other systems or what other people are saying, and that all can be very helpful. But at the end of the day, remembering you got to do what's best for you and your family and what feels right to you. So if it feels right to work your schedule a certain way, if it feels right to work more hours or less hours, and if it feels right to do what you're doing instead of what, a client or another guru might be saying, like just make sure you do what works for you. It can be very overwhelming. And I know I catch myself sometimes doing something and being so stressed and then having to take a break and be like, hey, I'm in charge. I don't have to do it that way. It just worked well for that person. And that's a struggle I have because I'm also a high achiever, like I'm sure most of your listeners are. You see a structure and a roadmap and you're like, well, it worked, so I might as well, I got to do it and I got to do it perfectly. But knowing that you're in control and you can pivot and you can change makes your days a lot easier and a lot less anxiety filled.
Okay, Megan. So you started your company, the Mompreneur Guide, with a toddler and a newborn at home. What were the biggest challenges you faced, or should I say, are still facing? And what's your secret to being able to balance the two worlds?
Yeah. So, you know, starting with a toddler and a newborn, I feel like it almost seems more challenging. I know I recently looked back at my journal to see kind of where my mindset was at that point. And the biggest thing that I was concerned with at that time was support. Because for me, I want to be in my office. For me, I personally want to be in 15 hours. And when I'm in the office, I want to do my work, make an impact and then get out. I don't want to be trying to work while being with my kids. I want to be able to focus on them and be present. And so looking back at my notes, I think that was the biggest struggle at the time, was that we didn't have help. And so searching for support, and support that worked for our family. So we were specifically looking for somebody who could come in the afternoons, somebody who could manage 2 under 2, because I know you're a mom of multiple kids. I feel like I could barely manage 2 under 2 sometimes. So making sure we found the right person to do that allowed me to then feel comfortable and a little less mom guilt, going into the office and doing the things that I needed to do. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge in doing the two. And that's also the number one thing that makes it easy for me to do my work, is because I have that support, not only for the childcare portion, but then also I have a group of business besties that I can lean on. Women who get it, who are in this same arena as me. They are entrepreneurs. They're juggling all the things and all the things they want to be doing. I like to mention that. But being able to just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, what works for you. What do you think of this idea? Or, hey, Mom Guilt Monday, like this is just what's bothering me today. I just need to vent and share from somebody who understands it. I would say support is the number one thing that makes this a lot easier, because oftentimes we're up in our head, but when we can get it out there and share, it makes a difference emotionally for sure.
I could not agree more. I mean, if the pandemic especially has taught working moms anything, it is that multitasking two extremely important parts of your life, your work and your children, doesn't work. It doesn't work, you guys.
Nope.
It just doesn't, right? You are inevitably going to feel stressed, overwhelmed, like you're failing at both because they are both extremely important to you, right? You need, when you're with your kids, you want to be able to be the best mom that you can be. And that involves full attention. And when you're doing your job, when you're running your business, you want to dedicate that same level of attention and detail to that task at hand. So absolutely, if you are a mompreneur trying to juggle your business without some sort of help in helping with the kids during even just a few hours a week, right? Whatever it is that you need, it could be 5 hours, it could be 40 hours, you make those rules, but absolutely tap into that. There are plenty of ways to do it. It doesn't always have to be a paid resource. It could be a swap. It could be so many things. So tap into your creative muscle and get some support there. Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right, let's talk about your workshop. Tell us
Mhm.
more about this, who it's for, what it entails, how do we get the deets? I want to know more about it.
Yeah. So my new workshop is the Design Your Perfect Days workshop. And the point of it is to help you eliminate the schedule overwhelm. So we're going to walk through my time freedom formula. And at the end of it, you'll leave with a clear, flexible schedule, daily schedule that you can start implementing so that you can live your ideal life instead of just talking about it. Like we've mentioned, as a mompreneur, you go into this for the freedom, and then oftentimes you get in too deep and you're like, what happened? I wanted this freedom, and just the theory, just like what happened with me, the theory isn't panning out in reality. And so when you go through my time freedom formula, you'll figure out, like I had mentioned, what to keep, cut, and add. You'll get really, really honed in on your goals and your priorities. And in 1 hour, we're going to be able to make a big impact on your life, and get this stuff implemented so that by tomorrow, you can go out and start living your ideal days. So this is an exciting new workshop that will be available through my website, themompreneur.com, and you can check out more details for it there, as well as the Get It Done templates, which those themselves have been very popular lately because you could just implement those and be good to go. So.
Great. Oh, that sounds fabulous. And I love that it's only an hour. So it shouldn't
Yep.
intimidate anybody to tap into that resource. It's not like this huge time commitment, right? It's
Yeah.
coming from someone who also, near and dear to my heart, is into that time management and productivity. You understand this has to be quick and easy and, easy to adopt and
Yeah.
take on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to you personally managing your time, what's the one thing that's a non-negotiable for you?
My kids and my family, my husband, they are the center of what I'm doing, and everything else is filling in around that. That's how I create my perfect days. So I focus on what do I want for them and what do I want to do with them, and then my activities around that build that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure many moms listening right now would also agree
Mm-hmm.
that that's the most important part of their world.
Yeah.
All right, Megan. Well, I know we could talk about this topic for days, you and I, but
Oh
we are
yeah.
going to hop on over to our lightning round now. And in this part of the show, I like to ask our guests just some fun, random type questions so our listeners can get to know them a little bit more on a personal level. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Gilmore Girls, I've watched it 9 times from start to finish.
Oh, wow. That is
Yeah.
commitment, girl.
Oh yeah, I love it. Every time there's a new change, I go and I watch it.
All right. What book are you reading right now?
I'm reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It is fabulous.
I have heard amazing things about that. It's on my list.
Yeah, so
What's
good.
your cocktail of choice?
Depends on the day. It's either I like to do a Moscow Mule, but with a flavored vodka and ginger beer, or I will do a red wine. Depends on how I'm feeling.
All right. If you could go on vacation tomorrow, anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I'd love to go to Kauai, Hawaii. I'm craving a beach vacation, I think as most of us are, for some relaxation. And I've heard how beautiful it is. And it's been a very long time since I've been to Hawaii, but that was a spot I never got to.
Yes, I have heard beautiful things about Kauai as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you call yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say extrovert with some introverted tendencies.
Okay, yeah. Nail salon, hair salon, or spa, you can only pick one to visit for the rest of your life. Which one is it?
Spa, 100%. I have to have my monthly massages.
Awesome. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you after the show?
Yeah. So you can head on over to my website, themompreneurguide.com. You can also find me on Facebook, The Mompreneur Guide, or on Instagram, Mompreneur Guide.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Megan. I really enjoyed our chat.
I so appreciate you having me. Thanks again.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.